What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you guys through my team selection for the upcoming Game Week 17. So with unlimited transfers, how's the team currently setting out the latest wildcard draft? I'm going to be going over all that good stuff in this specific team selection. And I hope you guys are preparing for the Game Week 17 deadline as well. Now, I'll be giving you guys kind of some combinations depending on what news we do get before the Game Week 17 deadline. So just keep your eyes out for that one. But as always, let me know how your guys' team selection is currently getting on. Drop your latest draft in the comments down below and ask me any questions over in the YouTube comments or on my Discord server. But getting back to my own team selection, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. Now the first talking point I just want to go over is that the EFL Cup is currently being played as you guys are watching this video. The reason I'm obviously shouting this out is that there could be potential injuries, playing time, that sort of thing, formational changes of the respective clubs in the EFL Cup. So please just watch out for this specific competition. Yes, some teams are playing some relatively easier opposition, but we do have Man City facing Liverpool, which I'm pretty sure both sides are going to put out a pretty strong team. As long as you guys do keep your eyes out for that injury news, you'll be absolutely fine for the Game Week 17 deadline. The next talking point I just want to briefly touch on is going to be the disclaimer of this video. As you guys are watching this, I'm actually touring Europe at the moment on my kind of Christmas holiday. Now, I will be trying to do a Game Week 17 deadline. I can't promise anything. If I don't do a deadline, don't worry. I'll be announcing my team over my Discord server as well as my Twitter page, so we'll keep you guys up to date. Now, the obvious disclaimer for this specific video is that I'm having to pre-record this team selection. That's why I'm giving you guys two kind of options depending on what news we do get before the deadline. But I do apologize that the information might not be as up to date as possible. But I'll be updating you guys on my Discord server and my Twitter page. Don't worry, I'll be keeping up to date with all that FPL news. But now going on to the actual draft for the upcoming Game Week 17, or the most kind of up-to-date team selection that I can offer you guys. I'm going to be going over, like I usually do it, or I have over these prior draft videos, I'm going to be going over the financials and then give you guys the actual team selection. So this specific draft, I do have 0.1 in the bank, and when I do actually make those changes, I still do have 0.1, so just remember 0.1 throughout the video. Now this first draft is going to be very similar to the one I actually created on my updated draft video, which is usually a good sign in terms of my logic. For example, let's start with the goalkeeper department. Stayed exactly the same here. Kepa at 4.5 million is going to be our main goalkeeper of choice. Now, I don't really know what news has come out, but as far as I know, he's back in training along with Reece James, and therefore should be fine for Game Week 17. Now, if you are a Chelsea fan, I'd appreciate you commenting down below if you do think that Kepa will be first choice under Graham Potter towards the end of the kind of last stages of the game weeks. He was the first choice, but I guess Mendy is always in the wings. Accompanying him in the goalkeeper department is going to be Danny Ward. No complaints there, 4.0 million. Leicester's defense has improved dramatically, and Danny Ward looks like a great asset at 4.0 million. Now, I guess there might be the debate to actually go for the Leicester double up of Iverson and Danny Ward, but I do like the double game week that Chelsea do offer. Now, heading into our backline department, from left to right is going to be the most expensive options to the least expensive options, and I'll also be going over these options in terms of a formation. So the first of our back three is going to be João Cancelo at 7.2 million. I've reiterated this a lot, that the only reason I'm going for him is because he is nailed, as I do believe, in that starting 11 for Man City. Now you guys can also go for a Kyle Walker back from injury, and a Kanji, a Ruben Diaz. All those options are cheaper and also offer some nailed ability, but I think that Cancelo offers the most nailed option. Now yes, his attacking threat might not be that great, and that's why I have seen kind of some options going for Edison, but I do actually like owning a more attacking defender. Similar thinking goes into the next option, Kieran Trippier. At least he does offer that attacking threat though. Newcastle's fixtures upcoming aren't the best in the world, but still, that defense is rock solid, and Kieran Trippier is on all those set pieces. So I don't think there's going to be any debates in the comments about him, but the next option might be a slight debate to go for. It's which Chelsea defender to actually look at. So as mentioned earlier on, I'm going to give you guys some options here, but the first, more reliable option is definitely Cucurella at 5.1 million. Now the reason I'm saying that is that Ben Chilwell hasn't returned to training as far as I'm recording this video, and therefore that left wing-back slot should be open for Cucurella to actually play in. He also does offer that flexibility of playing as a left centre-back if they do play a back five, and that's why I think he's the safest option to actually look at. But yes, you guys could look at some of their centre-backs. I see Fofana is also back in training. I think 4.2 or 4.3 million could be an absolute steal if you guys do want to risk it. But this is going to be my core back three. You guys know I do love a back three formation, so let's now go into the midfield department. So no changes in our midfield department for a couple of game weeks now. You guys will know that Kevin De Bruyne is my more premium option of choice. It's just the double game week that edges it for me over Mo Salah. Now we did actually mention in the Ultimate Guide a few days ago that the De Bruyne vs Kane debate is quite an interesting one, but when you guys do see my front line, I think you'll understand why I went for the premium midfielder. No debates for me in terms of that Man City option in the midfield department. Might even be a nice Campsy option if Erling Haaland gets injured or something like that. We then move on to Mason Mount, our Chelsea attacker of choice. I just believe that he's the most nailed option in that forward line. But I guess the big thing is that hopefully he's back in training after returning from the England camp for the World Cup. Now at 7.5 million, the risk isn't as high as maybe some of the other Chelsea attackers, as they do come in slightly more expensive. Similar thinking though to Cucurella, yes, a triple up on Chelsea is a little bit unpredictable as Graham Potter has been prone to kind of rotate, but I just believe with those fixtures and the double game week, it's worth it. Then I know that you guys don't really like this next pick, but Wilfried Zaha is going to remain in my squad. I just believe at that price point, not really looking at a sucker, the fixtures in my opinion over the next 3 aren't that great, whereas with Zaha, 2 newly promoted sides in the next 2 look simply outstanding. Now yes, we do have that contract situation, and I'll be paying close attention to the press conferences because the last thing I want is for some discipline issues and then Zaha doesn't start for Crystal Palace. But I'm willing to take a punt for him over the next 2 game weeks. As I mentioned, I'm a big fan of Trossard and I could bring him in come game week 19. Then the final option, Martinelli. I've just spoken about those Arsenal fixtures not being as strong, but at his cheap price point, I'm willing to take the risk, and then Arsenal attack is also pretty strong still. Now there is a little bit of to be seen with this Arsenal lineup, with Jesus out injured, how they're going to adapt to that. Obviously he's an amazing striker. Will Nketiah offer a good replacement or not? That's a little bit of to be seen. But still, I'm willing to take the punt on Martinelli and not lose that team value, as I did bring him in at the start of the season. Then finally, our forward line is also going to remain unchanged from my updated draft video. Erling Haaland, no questions asked there, Norwegian at 11.8 million. That's probably too cheap to actually get him at, as he's just so consistent. We then have one of my favorite options, Darwin Núñez at 9.0 million. I love a little bit of Liverpool coverage as a Liverpool fan. As soon as I saw that Jota and Luis Diaz were out injured, Darwin came into my squad immediately. Added to that, also covering Salah a little bit here. Is Darwin Núñez enough coverage for Salah? Probably not, but he does come in a little bit cheaper. Then our final forward to go for is going to be Callum Wilson at 7.4 million, also been a mainstay in most of my drafts. I just believe that Newcastle will continue this good form they are on, and hopefully Callum Wilson stays injury free. But even if he doesn't stay injury free, I could always downgrade him to Mitrovic, kind of monitoring that yellow card suspension right now, but if he is going to be fine for the double game week, could always do that switch when the time arises. But as mentioned earlier on, this is kind of the formation I will be going for, the 3-4-3, and let's cover some bench coverage. Now my bench coverage of choice and the one that I could afford is going to be Ben White, but I will say that with 0.1 in the bank, you guys could afford a lot from United as he comes in at 4.8 million. But I just think with Ben White offers the better defense over United, and that's why I've chosen him. Now final 2 options to go for. The first one is a mainstay, Andreas Pereira, but with Neco Williams, I could always rotate him as I'm not that confident of him starting every single game week. Even if he doesn't though, not the worst thing in the world because he will be third on my bench most game weeks. But this draft is going to look familiar because it's simply our updated draft video, but as I mentioned earlier on, I think that's a good sign because it means my logic has played out over a couple of days. But the big news that's just been released is that Reece James is back in training. I mentioned in the updated draft video that he wasn't in intense training, but after videos have been released, he looks like he's in normal training yet again. So I actually do believe that Reece James is the best option to get in from a Chelsea point of view because of his explosive nature. Yes, you're going to have those 1-pointers, those 2-pointers, but every once in a while he offers that double-digit haul, and I believe that's worth it. So if you do want to bring Reece James in, I will be downgrading Cucurella. I already own the triple up, so therefore I'll have to lose the defender, and then I'll need some money to actually upgrade that. So you guys want to notice that I lost Wilfried Zaha. I do believe that if I am going to be doing this move, he's the easiest downgrade option, and the downgrade that I'll be going for is going to be Rashford. So this will leave me with 0.1 left in the bank, not too shabby for this upgrade, and Rashford has some nice figures coming up if he can stay injury free. So this will be my rotation from the first to the second draft. It's going to be Reece James in at a more expensive price point, then I'm going to do the downgrade of Zaha to Rashford. What I want you guys to do is let me know in the comments down below, do you think this is a good move? I mean, news might have come that Reece James has kind of got injured again by the time I release this, so just keep that in mind. Now the next talking point I just want to go over briefly is going to be about the double game weeks. Now the reason I'm doing this is that I want to showcase the Chelsea assets. Do I actually think that Reece James will play the majority of the Premier League games, or is it actually worth just going for Cucurella at a cheaper price point? So I'll be going over the kind of fixture guide that I covered a few days ago, but I'll only be detailing game week 19 and Chelsea in specific. So as you guys can see on screen right now, we have the Game Week 18 fixture against Nottingham Forest at home. 3 days later, they have Man City, also in the Premier League in Game Week 19. Then they have Man City yet again, I do believe, in the FA Cup next round. Then they have Fulham, which is going to be the second game of the double Game Week 19. So on screen right now, you guys can maybe predict what games you think Reece James will start. 3 days, 2 days, and 3 days between. Not a lot of rest there, and we have seen Graham Potter rotate him because of those injury concerns. So if I have to do a prediction here, I'd almost say that you want to play him in the high intensity games, probably the Man City ones. However, it depends on how Graham Potter's facing with the FA Cup. If he's going to be like Jurgen Klopp and play the kids in the FA Cup, then we could see Reece James rested there. And then I do think he might play the Nottingham Forest game, Man City, and then also Fulham game. So that's probably the best prize here as a Reece James owner. Game week 18, he plays one game. Game week 19, plays the double, then misses out on the FA Cup. But he could also play him in both Man City games, and therefore he will miss the Fulham game, which is going to be quite disappointing. But at the end of the day, we can't really predict what the managers will do, and maybe even come game week 19, Reece James is injured again. What I just wanted to show you here is that please remember that there's not only the Premier League games happening in the second half of the season, we have a lot more competition that you guys have to watch out for. But you guys tell me in the comments down below, what games do you think that Reece James will play? Most managers have actually been saying maybe 3 of the next 5 Prem games, which I guess you'll take as long as he holds in one of them. Now the final talking point to go over is going to be the actual team selection for the upcoming Game Week 17. I won't be going over the kind of Game Week 18, Game Week 19 in the future kind of perspective, as I already covered that in my initial draft. So bottom right hand side, 0.1 left in the bank. Depending on which draft I do go for, the money stays constant, it's 0.1. Now starting off on our bench, and the bench will stay consistent between the two drafts, it's going to be Danny Ward in goal on the bench, Ben White against West Ham United at home, Andreas against Crystal Palace away, then finally Neco Williams against United. Now the only question mark might be about Ben White. Do I actually start him against West Ham at home? I think that game will be quite a cagey one. West Ham haven't been up to scratch this Premier League season, and also the defense is pretty strong. But when you guys do see my starting 11 defense, I've got Kepa in goal alongside Cucurella. Both have the Bournemouth at home game. Then have Trippier and Cancelo with the away games, Leeds and Leicester respectively. Now would you guys actually start Ben White over any of these defenders? I don't think so. I think even if they don't keep a clean sheet, the attacking threat is there, and that's why I think they're actually worth the more upside. Then obviously with Danny Ward versus Kepa, I do own a Callum Wilson up front, so I'm hoping that Newcastle score, and I want to play the odds on this one. Then moving into our midfield department, it's Mason Mount, De Bruyne, Martinelli, and then finally Wilfried Zaha. We have home games for Mount and Zaha, both newly promoted sides, pretty respective fixtures there. Have some high hopes, hopefully I won't be let down. We also have Martinelli with the West Ham at home game, a little bit of a tougher game on paper there, but he is so cheap that even if he gets an assist, it's going to be worth it. Then our big hitter in the midfield department, Kevin De Bruyne, Leeds away, great fixture on paper. We saw in the Ultimate Guide a bottom 5 defense this Premier League season, or at least half of it. So I do hope that De Bruyne has a pretty good game in this one. Then finally our forward line, Erling Haaland, our perma captain for most game weeks, at least to start off this next stage of the season. Leeds away is a great game, and Erling Haaland has had a full rest over the World Cup. Then Darwin Núñez against Aston Villa away, great game on paper I do believe. Depends on how Aston Villa kind of set up, but I do expect Liverpool to start the second half of the season pretty well. Then finally Callum Wilson, Leicester away. We spoke about Danny Ward, the Leicester defense looking pretty strong, but the Newcastle attack is also pretty respectable. So in terms of our kind of first draft, our more stable draft, this is how the team selection would look, but let's get on to those changes that we could make. So yet again, taking out Cucurella, taking out Wilfried Zaha, we will replace them with Reece James and Rashford, who both have pretty good games. Obviously James and Cucurella have the exact same fixture, Bournemouth at home, but I guess with James he is slightly more attacking than a Cucurella might be. Then comparing Wilfried Zaha to a Rashford, they have a pretty similar game here in my opinion. Nottingham Forest at home is a very good game, a newly promoted side as well. Now please monitor Rashford's kind of fitness. He has just played the World Cup. I think he might have picked up a knock towards the end of it, so just watch out that he is back in training, but I do assume that he's going to be fine for Game Week 17. So yet again, I'm asking you guys, comment down below, which of these drafts do you guys actually prefer? Do you prefer the James and Rashford combination, or do you think of Wilfried Zaha, the troll of the prior game weeks, and a Cucurella might be more sensible? But as I always say, let me know what your kind of team selection is looking like. Do you think this draft looks good? Do you think it looks bad? Don't roast me too much. And just remember that I am pre-recording this video. That's basically a wrap for the video, guys. Hope you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you didn't subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Hopefully I do see you guys for a Game Week 17 deadline, but if I don't, good luck and may the green arrows be in your favor. But I'm signing off with Dayvy FPL and I'm out. Cheers, bye.